and welcome to this edition of A Closer Look. Today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity, and joining me is James Jacob with the City of Chesapeake, System Security Manager. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So what is the definition of cybersecurity? It sounds very, very serious. Can you tell me what in general it means?
Well, there's a lot to cybersecurity, a lot of different functions and areas. But if I had to summarize it, I would say cybersecurity is about making sure that you have adequate protections of your business assets and personal information from cyber threats.
Okay, so can you tell me what is considered malicious email spam and phishing? We've all heard those terms.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what they are?
Yeah, sure. Those are all different types of what I classify as unwanted emails, emails that you didn't expect or didn't ask for. Spam is generally relatively harmless, but can be annoying because you get a lot of it. But most of the time it's marketing information because your email address has ended up on someone's email list. When it becomes malicious is if it has a harmful link or a harmful attachment that if you interact with it could cause you some trouble. Okay. And phishing is generally targeted emails. So they target a certain group, certain type of people, certain type of marketing habits, and they still have the malicious or harmful link or a harmful attachment that you want to make sure that you don't interact with. And they try to trick you into stealing your personal information and going to a website to download something, maybe malware to your computer.
So identity theft, which is very serious.
Absolutely.
So how can someone protect themselves from becoming a victim?
Well, there's no such thing as 100% security. And every person has to take control of their own private information. So I always say, stop, think before you click. You know, if you receive a link, make sure you understand where that link came from and that you trust the source. If something seems out of the ordinary, then contact that person and say, hey, did you send me this? Because you typically don't send me this type of information and you just want to verify that, you know, it was legitimate. Make sure that you understand the sites that you're visiting. Do your homework. Review the site on Google. You know, do Google reviews. Go to the Better Business Bureau. And when you do interact with a site and you have to give them information, make sure you understand what information you're giving them. Why are they collecting this information? What are their processing standards? And if you're uncomfortable with it, don't do business with them.
And usually that's a good sign. Asking for my social security number, I'm like, wait a minute. Why do they need my social security number?
Exactly.
So I think a lot of times we're just so used to just filling stuff out, you don't think about it, but we really have to be aware because people are coming up with a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and the bad guys are counting on you you being so busy that you don't stop, think before you click. And so I always use that phrase to kind of stop, think before you click.
You know, we live in such a fast-paced world. I think people are just, especially when you're doing something online or on social. Can you tell me what are the risks of just being on social media to be a victim? There
are a lot of challenges when it comes to social media because you are trusting that the person behind that profile picture is the person they say they are. And that's not always the case. Even people that you are familiar with can have their social media account hacked. And now the bad guy is actually pretending to be them, sending you this information, trying to trick you into getting their information. So it's still the same premise. Stop, think before you click. If you get something from a friend of yours and they typically don't send you that type of information, ask them. But don't ask them on social media because now you're talking to the bad guy. Give them a phone call, send them a text message and say, hey, you sent me something that's a little unusual. Was that really you? Because 9 times out of 10, they don't even know that their account has been hacked until someone tells them.
And that's happened to me, and I know it's happened to other people, and typically they'll put like a message out on Facebook, hey, I've been hacked, do not accept a friend request from me. But it just goes to show you how it can happen to anybody.
Sure can.
So QR codes, I'm seeing a lot more QR codes pretty much everywhere I look, whether it's a pamphlet, whether it's a sign. That now can be hacked, if you will.
Absolutely. Anything that touches the internet has a risk that it could be compromised. And QR codes are no exception. They contain a lot more information than a simple link. Companies like them because you can sort of track some of the habits of their customers. But again, that can be turned into malicious where now they know the sites you like to go to and some of your habits and they can target you. So they make fake QR codes to kind of lead you into these fake websites, provide information, and just steal your identity from there.
And I think even, I would say since the pandemic, I've seen an increase in QR codes. And I think like restaurants started using them
Yes.
to look at their menus. Like you would
Exactly.
have to go in with your phone and pull the menu up. So we've sort of become used to how common they are right now.
Yeah, it's all about, of course, with the pandemic, it's a don't touch, immediate gratification type of thing. So now if I don't have to handle the menu or handle some
Exactly.
documentation, I can click a QR code with my phone and have it right here on a trusted device. And
So
that's
as
the
smart as that
popularity.
is, there's always somebody out there that is not necessarily has the best intentions with that.
Well, the challenge in cybersecurity is the bad guys always seem to be one step
One
ahead
step
of
ahead.
us. We have to be correct all the time in preventing it. They only have to be right once. They get your information.
So shopping, that anything basically you said earlier that has a link associated with it, you could be at risk.
Absolutely.
So I know sometimes, like if I get something that's questionable, I'll look at the website and it may be a little bit off, like from my bank or something like
Exactly.
that. So
Exactly. Sometimes you can tell there's misspellings or something in the URL. But generally, if you want to check to see if a website is legitimate, you can look to the left of your address bar and you see the little lock. That lock means that at least it's a secure connection. And then if you click on the lock, you'll get to what they call a certificate. A certificate kind of verifies the identity of that website. If you don't see the lock, especially with banking, entering financial information, I would avoid using that site. Maybe give the company a call and say, hey, I went to your site. I don't see a secure lock. I'm concerned.
better to be safe than sorry and
Absolutely.
take that extra few minutes, because if something happens like your identity gets stolen, you're going to be taking a lot more time dealing with it. So
Absolutely.
where can someone go to get more information?
There are a couple of really good websites. FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI.org has a good site. Federal Trade Commission, FTC.org has a good site. And StaySafeOnline.org for the National Cybersecurity Alliance also is a pretty good site to stay up to date on scams and cyber crimes and so forth.
There's so much information. I feel like we could keep talking about it, but those sites are good resources, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, James, for coming on to talk about this today.
It's my
I
pleasure.
appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, that does it for this edition of A Closer Look, and we'll see you next time.